Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fleet's Random Ramblings. Yes, we're back once again. Sorry, well, catch-up ramblings, technically. Back once again to answer the questions we didn't get to on Monday. Now, luckily, which is quite nice, because I do have work tomorrow, we don't have that many to get through today, so we should have a fairly short, hour-ish, I reckon, catch-up rambling session today. After which, I could run another session of Fleet's getting ready for the massive MacGuffin he's been planning for like 2 weeks now. And it's now in the final phases.
Are you familiar with the concept of podcast creep, whereby no matter what time you set, you think you're going to go, you always will go longer than it?
I am aware of the concept of concept of podcast creep. However, I've become very good at countering podcast creep because I know it fucking exists, and also I can't really afford to have it happen, at least not right now. Douglas Yachty asks, it's 1920 and the Yamato and the Musashi come slowly drifting into the Bay of Tokyo. They're completely empty of people. How would they affect the naval treaties and Japan? Well,
what treaty?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, they're oil burners, which I don't think any Japanese ship at that point is a completely oil-burning capital ship. Even the Nagatos, as built, I think, aren't fully oil-fired. I will just check. Yeah.
Admiral Wellesley, at this point, I think standing up shell production for them should be possible.
Technically, it depends. If they are, if they do have ammunition aboard, they can be reverse engineered. The Japanese are working on 18-inch guns. There is a problem, however. There is a problem. This basically, these two ships basically, they can't be maintained. Yes, they have oil-fired boilers, which the IJN understand, but they don't have the spares for these particular boilers. They don't have the spares for the turbines these ships carry. They don't have spares for any of their electrical equipment, etc., etc. They are 2 to 3 generations. They are
showstopper, I think, would be the electrical.
Yeah, they are 2 to 3 generations ahead. The best thing they can do, actually, is use the ships, basically salvage what you can use, research and disassemble what you can't. Ironically enough, this may be a way for Japan to just have more leverage at the treaties. And not because the ships themselves will be extant, because basically they have nowhere to dry dock and maintain them. But the Japanese can basically...
Because they can give them up as like a
No, it's not so much that. It's more that we can use these ships, parts of these ships, like the armor plating, the main guns, etc., etc., to much more rapidly and quickly build new capital ships to new designs.
Well, what I'm thinking is if they now have these, they can play it as, hey, we'll give up these two in exchange for concessions elsewhere.
That's not really
actually can maintain and build.
That's literally what I just said. The whole point is they're not giving them up as concessions, because that doesn't really give the Japanese any leverage.
Wait, what's the question?
Basically, Yamato and Musashi have come slowly drifting into the Bay of Tokyo. They're completely empty of people. How would they affect the naval treaties in Japan? They basically can't operate them down to an issue with spares and just them being a different generation electrically and in some cases mechanically compared to what they're currently operating. And also they don't have the dockyard facilities to maintain them. What they are going to be very useful for is reverse engineering, and in particular, especially if the guns
they can use them.
And they're not really, no. They can use them till they wear out, but that doesn't really help them in the here and now. It's far better to salvage...
Yes, so the Campon boilers. The Campon boilers are a linearly upscaled version of the Nagato boilers.
Okay, yes, that doesn't...
I personally think the big issue is going to be the electrical systems.
Yeah, and
it's
well,
not-
I'll get to that in a second. And they're an enlarged version of the same boiler design.
Yeah.
And the Japanese have the smaller version of that boiler in service.
Yeah, that's not the problem.
So they can get the engines working. The
The-
electronics, aside from the radar, they can get working.
That's not the problem either. The problem is
Then what-
spares and maintenance.
But no, but
You
right,
can't run a ship without a dry
No,
dock.
that's
but Fox has
never
literally
going
just
to be the problem.
Fox has literally just addressed those points.
No, she
Yeah,
hasn't.
they
so I'm
can-
running
yes,
through
no,
it.
she
I'm running
hasn't.
through it.
She,
Because you're right, you can cut the mill part. It'll be expensive, but you can cut the make part. It's going to be the
Not
high
really,
need
no.
items you can't manufacture.
You can't
Yes, you
custom
can.
make parts. The
Issues.
electronics tech isn't there. The electrical tech isn't
Yeah,
there.
it is. Right, wait. The Japanese have been working with DC current and warships for quite a long time. Yes, alloys used in wire compositions have changed. However, they're still hydraulic turrets and largely hydraulic elevation. The most electrical systems are direct and obvious evolutions of the existing electrical systems. The big issue is going to be the radar and maybe the fire control computer.
Again, I will just
Because
point
the-
out.
I'm thinking about manufacture, even if with electrical, even if it's an evolution, you have to get your manufacturing tolerances to the point where they can build it, and that's the difficult part.
Yeah,
A lot
but they
of
do
electrical
have
stuff
that
is
tolerance.
especially like it's heavily dependent on getting your tolerances down.
But, however, they are already building to that tolerances for the basic systems. Aren't the radar and the fire control suite? When they're building the Nagatos, they're to very similar tolerances.
I'm not sure they are. I think you need to go away and have a look again.
Because,
Yeah,
and I'm
I
not
don't
talking
think-
about, I'm talking about stuff like cable quality.
I know.
And
so
actual
am I.
I don't
throughput.
think they're going to be an issue. It's hooking up. It's the individual systems themselves that I
Yeah.
think are going to be the showstoppers.
but
Yeah,
even
and
then,
they're
though,
not
you can still
stupid.
operate it.
No,
And
they
you
are.
still
Even-
and still repair
Well,
it
like,
to a state of function.
Well, they are
Yeah,
fully
and-
functional when they arrive, but
But yeah, but that the point is though, Fleet, they can maintain her, perhaps not to what she should be, but they can maintain her to a state she can still be an operational warship.
I disagree. I don't think
so
they
let's go
can.
through. No,
I-
let's break down what they
think
can't.
They can keep her operational,
with.
but I would say derated.
So let's
I
go
don't
through
think
what
they
they
should.
can't operate on her. They can't operate the radar. That's a 2 to 3 steps above electronically what you can build in the 20s. In this case, Tourist is right. The tolerances, the manufacturing, the proto circuitry idea isn't there.
Hmm.
It's just not. You're looking at, in the 20s, even then, this is the later 20s, the first adoption of early automated mechanical computing. Which also means they're not going to know shit about that fire control.
Yeah.
Because Yamato's mechanical fire control was brilliant for its time as a conventional mechanical fire control. Can we agree?
Yeah, of
It was
course.
pretty decent, yes.
So the chances of them bringing that, maintaining that without parts, is basically zero.
Hmm.
Unless they strip it out of one of them and spend God knows how long breaking it apart and going into design and development.
Exactly. Yes.
No,
I
And I think that's what they should do.
They would want
This
to
is
do.
this brings me
But that would be like a 5-10 year project.
this brings me
Yeah,
back to the
the
point I
second-
was.
yeah, I'm gonna finish the breakdown.
Okay. Yes, you can.
I've been through the engines. The boilers just in large versions at slightly higher pressure than what they've already got. You might lose a bit of speed if they have to modify the boiler. Now, honestly, the worst thing for them is going to be when they've got to replace the armor plate. Because armor plate has a lifespan. And
See-
the armor plate on the Yamatos pushes the boundaries of what's physically possible for very homogeneous steel.
And therein lies...
And it's about 3 inches too thick for the 20s.
Therein lies the crux of the issue that I was driving at
So
before Foxo asked what the question was, and what Moe has already hit upon. The value in these ships is not to operate them. The value in these ships is to disassemble them, salvage what can be salvaged for later reuse. I mean, for example, the 18.1-inch guns alone, you could build a pair of... You could basically speed up the number 13 significantly.
No, you can't.
Value of these ships is the fact that one-on-one, they can take on most battle fleets in the world. That's not the Royal Navy.
No.
right.
Because no, I'm sorry. When you look at the 14 and the 12-inch battle line of the Americans,
If
remember
they
the
can
12-inch
figure
are
out
still
how
a
to-
part of the battle line at this point. What the fuck's the 12-inch
Also
gonna do against
remember,
the Yamato?
remember,
I can
U.S. fleet
see
speed's
where
21
you're
knots.
coming from if they can figure out how to fully operate those fire control computers.
Yeah,
So
without...
they can outrange
Well-
everything. But
well,
if,
no,
if
even
it
then.
gets into a slugging match, I think that there's enough
No.
delicate systems up top.
No.
That volume of fire.
Yeah, it's going
So,
to put them
in
down.
general, actually, no, it's not the fire control systems that gives them that advantage. And the fire control systems they have on board the Nagatos is enough to get the range advantage on the Americans. You've also got the advantage of Yamato's 27 knots. The US battle fleet's 21. That is
I
a
mean,
6
even-
knot speed difference.
And you
That
re-
is game over. Your guns will nuke them. The problem is
Now,
2
to be
versus
fair-
like 12 is not good.
Now,
It
to
will
be
take a
fair,
lot of
that
bits.
problem extends to the Royal Navy. It's
Yes.
not like your battle flag, your entire battle line is 24 knots.
The advantage the Royal Navy has is they have battle cruisers.
That's not
Well,
going to help.
Oh yeah,
not much
sure.
better.
I would love to bring battle cruisers up against the Yamatos.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, it's your best bet if you want to try and catch it.
Yeah.
That's your best bet.
Well, okay, the advantage the Royal Navy got is they've got a mature submarine fleet.
That is, but also they've got other doctrinal advantages as well, which helps them.
I hate to think what
No,
Admiral
the
Fisher
only way
might
the
design
Americans could
in
take them
response to
is-
this thing.
Well, I said we know what's going to happen, and this is why one of the first things I was trying to say is what treaty? The treaties are completely gone. Also, team,
I
you
disagree.
should.
British still then free.
I absolutely disagree.
I absolutely disagree.
No,
I
the
there-
British
Two
will
ships is
enter
not going to change the mind
No,
of
no, 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 no,
American
right.
Britain.
Yeah,
Well,
no, but
yes,
no,
it
it
will.
will change Britain. It will change because remember, Britain almost walked out on the treaties multiple times.
At
These
this.
sailing into harbour, even if it's like, where the hell do they come from? The British will go, no. It is
Yeah,
even
no.
if the
The
Japanese
treaty
promise to
will exist
scrap
as
them,
if. No, it's
Britain will
just
say no.
the treaty will exist as we know them. The
No.
Yamatos will be scrapped.
No.
Yes.
Why would
yeah, they will
Britain
be.
agree to it?
Yeah,
I
okay,
agree.
okay, no, okay.
No,
so,
why would Britain agree on the existence of those two ships?
No, that's the point.
No,
Britain
how would
will
Yeah,
Britain
that's the
enforce-
point. The
Yeah,
treaty
no,
will
'cause-
exist and the ships will be scrapped.
No, but
No,
how?
no, the issue is how do you enforce it? What's to stop Japan just going, no, we're not scrapping this, like they did
Also-
with Mutsu, and what the Royal Navy did when the Americans demanded Hood be scrapped. The Royal Navy went, no, fuck you, you demand we get rid of Hood, we leave the fucking treaty. Which
There
is how
are
Hood
so-
gets grandfathered in.
The problem is these ships make so much. Also, the fact that these ships are being scrapped. Well, what about the components? What can you do? That means these ship components are not going to be used again. There are 18.1-inch guns there. Japan will probably not scrap them. Britain
And-
will be. Remember, Britain is paranoid for a good reason. If these ships existed, they are building bigger because they need to. Because someone in the world has messed around. Now they found out.
I
treaties
fundamentally
will not-
disagree with this
the treat-
mindset.
it
I
is a
know,
threat
Dr.
to the
Clark
British
p-
Empire.
Yeah,
posits
it's
this
a threat.
mindset.
That's why it will
I
be
disagree.
scrapped.
How do you enforce that, Moe?
The Royal
How-
Navy. Two
That's
ships
not-
isn't going to be
so-
that much of a problem.
But you caused war then.
That's the point of the treaty. You
No,
don't have a
no.
choice.
Trying to force those ships to be scrapped if Japan does not want them to be scrapped, and the only solution is the Royal Navy gets sent in, is a declaration of war.
Yes.
I
So
think-
therefore, you've just put Britain at war with Japan, who is an ally, mostly, at this period. They're starting to have issues, but also right at the end of the Great War.
And it's also right.
Yes.
And
No one's
secondly,
going to do that.
okay, look at the incentives
I
here.
disagree with that one.
Right. Okay, so the treaties happen because of a mixture of war exhaustion and political will. The Americans come to the table fundamentally because Congress know that the two political parties that are coming up for the next re-election are both isolationists. And so the US Navy and the more outsider thinking members of Congress are pushing for the treaties. It's why the Americans arguably get shafted by them.
There's also another problem.
Because the Americans know that if they don't get it before their next election, they don't get it at all. The
Also,
British government is looking for a way to spend as little money as possible, and the Labour government of the time is having a pissing match with the head of the Royal Navy and the Third Sea Lord.
but there's also another thing to be mentioned here, is that according to economic calculus, within a year or two, beyond the point of the treaties, Britain would be ready to continue its naval construction programs. If you do not get the treaties, when we get them, Britain doesn't agree to a treaty.
And even by the time they're looking at signing, the labour unions that are supporting the government at this point starting to get annoyed at the lack of shipbuilding. So, with the two Yamatos, you've created a situation where the Royal Navy doesn't want to sign up because they've just been cooked. They're being cooked out of 18-inch guns, and the Japanese have built some with 18-inch guns. Because let's be real, nobody's going to believe they just wandered into harbour one day.
I mean, not at
No one,
first.
Nobody's going to
no one in
fucking
the right
believe
mind
that.
will say. No one in their right mind will go. Those vessels somehow magically turn up with zero crew. It'll be a case of the Japanese have built these somewhere and didn't mean for this to happen necessarily.
Not
Or they
open,
built them in secret.
not openly, but privately, that consensus will become more and more obvious to members of intelligence staff and governments as the years wear
Even
on.
then, though, even then, the Royal Navy cannot afford the risk that Japan could try and do this.
Fundamentally, letting Japan have the
Yes, we did
Yamato
hear
go
it.
unanswered is an existential threat to the Empire because it breaks their mercantile monopoly. A
Now,
monopoly on the shipping of goods and trades through the Indian and Mediterranean Ocean seas and the Pacific from China,
Britain
which
doesn't
means
have
see
a
the Royal
monopoly
Navy
on
finish
that.
the entries.
Britain
they
doesn't have a
do
monopoly.
to a degree.
They do.
No, they don't. What sort of
The
cockamamie
Imperial
historical revisionism is this?
It's summer that was. The Imperial Commission was disbanded in 1944 for the internal colonial tariffs, which allowed the Americans free trade into the imperial market. This was in 42, which secured a significant amount of debt relief as the UK was going bankrupt in 1942.
You do
And
realize
was a significant amount of payment for Lend-Lease. And it's how Britain financed the second part of the war by letting America into its enclosed markets. That's literally how the economics of the empire fell apart.
You do realize that the Americans were never excluded from the imperial markets, and imperial preference was always something that was floated but never ever implemented, owing to Britain's
Yeah,
split
no,
into
imperial preference was.
No, it never
Okay,
was.
okay, no.
There's a reason why there was
You're
higher tariffs.
No, you're
There
getting.
usually weren't tariffs. The whole reason the British
No,
Empire
no,
kept
there was.
struggling is because they
No.
were so committed to
No.
free trade.
No, there
No.
was. Okay, right. So you're right. The imperial. What you're describing, imperial preference, in the context you're thinking of, plays to the prospects of the Commonwealth and the Imperial Federation. Since the 17th century and earlier, the British and English governments maintained a mercantilist policy of, from British trading city, goods get transported freely on British controlled areas to England through South Africa or through the Caribbean, right?
Right.
They're then charged at anyone who's trying to sell into this trade route or out of it is charged a significant tariff or additional tax, depending if they're selling in or out. This is to push companies, well, merchants, then later companies, to buy imperial goods from imperial businesses and bring in raw resources from the colonies to the home isles to increase the amount of money the home isles makes by turning those raw goods into industrial goods that they sell back to the colonies. That triangle is how the British Empire's economy worked. Raw goods from the colonies, transported to the home isles, they get transported to colonial capitals, they get sold back into the colonies themselves. It's how the British made so much money in India. The breaking of that system in 41-42 was the death knell of the empire, because it made the empire non-profitable, as it waived all taxes and tariffs for the Americans into that market.
Wasn't the Empire already non-profitable for about 1902?
No. It's misconstrued. Basically, the colonies themselves did not, unless you're talking the White Dominions, India, Nigeria, or Kenya, or South Africa, or the Caribbean islands, or British Guyana, or Ireland. All the ones aside from them, or Egypt, didn't make the cost of the colonial maintaining the colonial government was less than that colony itself made from taxes, tariffs and taxes on its citizens, and outside goods coming into its market. So each colony was not self-sustaining. However, they suddenly become profitable in the free trade ecosystem that was created inside the empire. And the empire made money outside, going, we've got our cost of manufacturing so efficient and so low that it's cheaper for you, China, to buy our goods, buy our industrialized weapons and leather and steam engines. It's cheaper for you to pay the taxes and all the import duties from us than it is to import them from anyone else. It's like working in unison. The colonies were very fucking profitable. It's how they supported the empire. And it's also why India was so important. Because they had like 20% of the world's population captive, forced to buy British goods.
Anyway, so we've kind of answered that question pretty conclusively. Moving on. Typical Gunnery Officer asks, opinions on the Megami class FFM. Do you think, well, it's an FFG technically. Do you think the USM would benefit at applying the Megami design for the Constellation class replacement and configure them to US needs, then build them in Japan for starters? First of all of that statement fundamentally misunderstands what the US needs in terms of frigates. For one thing, the whole the United States ordering ships of any type abroad, that's going to be
That's an absolute non-starter.
That's a non-starter on any metric. Secondly, they literally just tried the buy off the shelf and adapt principle, but because of what the USN needs, it basically needs a miniature Arleigh Burke. It basically, because the whole thing with Constellation is that for a US frigate, has to be able to do any role asked of it to a basic level, just like the Oliver Hazard Perrys could. In the 1980s, a Perry was a basic level threat to submarines, aircraft, and surface ships. You could reliably ask a Perry to step into any of those roles, and it could do it. The same thing is needed again. And the Megamis are not capable of doing that. They're very good ships, but they aren't capable of being asked to do all three roles to a basic level consistently all the time, and without support.
So
I'll buy me a question quickly.
Yes.
Right, buying meal, when it comes to that 75% of British imports and exports, that very much depends on time period. And as for your questions on colony trade, which colonies and when? Because it's such a broad topic, there's not one compilation of it. Because it's like 500 years of history. So I can have a look around if you want a specific region at a specific time. Otherwise, there's like a couple of 100 hours of reading for it. Yeah.
Knight,
The overall picture.
Knight saying on YouTube, the USM will have no choice but to buy foreign as they do have no designs in production and need it quite desperately. No, Knight, the USM will not buy foreign at all. They will go without if the
After
option.
what just happened, no, they won't.
Yeah, the option.
They will
if-
probably depend on like FFX.
Here would be what I would. Here's what I'm gonna ask though. Of all of the designs currently on the market, what is the closest to meeting the USN's requirements?
There really isn't.
Ooh.
There isn't anything that comes close that is a frigate. You have to start getting into small destroyer territory before you start getting anything near what matches what the USN wants Constellation to do, or what they wanted Constellation to do. If you say Type 26, I'm going to gut you like a sheep.
No, it's literally called Constellation.
Yes. Once they got it to a point
That's
where
the
it
only
was.
one that fits. Yeah, that's the only one that fits the USN needs.
Yeah, the cancellation of the program at this point is a mistake. It is a massive own goal.
It's not the capability issue. It is probably Treasury being like, why?
Yeah,
Why does this cost so much more than you asked?
Yeah, and then of course you've got the Secretary of the Navy, who doesn't understand how procurement works. If he did, he wouldn't have fucking cancelled the program. Listening to the Treasury and going, "We'll start again."
Now we're getting into U.S. politics, and we should probably. veer
We're
away from
allowed
that
to. This
focus.
is my fucking show.
Oh, well, what about the Type 31 then?
But
Type
small, too
31.
incapable.
Type 31 is a Constellation replacement. Oh, that's rich.
It is
Oh, that's nowhere near
Essentially-
capable enough, and it has
Yeah.
nowhere near the
Ostensibly,
manning
it
levels.
does try and fill the roles,
Yeah.
but it is nowhere near the level of capability asked for.
And also, it doesn't have anywhere near the manning requirements the USN likes to have for their ships. They like to
Yeah,
have
they
more
can
men.
always de-evolve the internal systems for it.
It's not even.
So then
I
you-
don't care.
That just turns into
I mean,
Constellation
I just don't
2.0.
even think there's room
Yeah.
for that level of crew.
No, there isn't
But
room.
no,
The
the
entire
fact is
problem
that
with
if the Americans desperately need it, and I don't know, find themselves in a war tomorrow where they need frigates, the Americans will do what the Americans have done in the past in wartime. It's just, okay, Allies, do you have plans for a good enough ship in this job? Yes, okay. We'll have those plans. We're building it ourselves and giving it a different designation.
Politely, Foxer, they won't even do that. They'll just restart Constellation at whatever cost it costs. Because the
They've got rid
plans
of most of
exist.
the tooling for it.
No, they haven't, because they have to build two of the bloody things.
Yeah. But they're already demanding tooling for it.
They can't until they finish the two they're building. And
Oh,
also,
they can,
and also politely, at that point, then it doesn't matter. You'd still restart Constellation, because you're gonna have to build up new tooling in the US regardless, whether you're buying it in from abroad or restarting it for whatever. And again, politely, this is just that they will restart Constellation. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if what we see as the next ship that replaces Constellation is something that walks like Constellation, talks like Constellation, looks a fucking lot like Constellation, but it's definitely totally not Constellation Gov. Honest, it's a totally original US design, definitely Gov. Ignore the fact that 90% of the work is done and it looks really similar to the ship that came before. Because, quite frankly, that's the only way this fucking makes sense.
Honestly.
From now on, can we just start can we start skipping Constellation class questions? Because they're the same fucking question every time.
There is
It's
far
like the
too
third
little
time we've had
detail
the
out
same.
there.
It's like the third time
we
we've
are all
had a
speculating.
slight reskin of this question. We get it every single fucking week.
Night.
And it's
Okay,
always,
I'm
what
just-
can we replace Constellation with? And it's like, bitch, we don't fucking know.
Yeah,
If I
okay.
knew what was going on in the Pentagon, I wouldn't be allowed to tell you.
Yeah. Also, at night, the USN can join the rest of the world's navies in the 21st century and start employing automation. That's not why the USN crews its ships to the level it crews its ships. The USN is a firm believer in the idea that you need mass in terms of crewing numbers to make up for damage control capability, and most importantly, to make up for losses you're going to suffer when you get hit. Not if you get hit, when you get hit. This is
But it's still a bit of Ludditism.
No, it's not. I'd argue, in fact, it's the correct approach.
I think so. In my opinion, a lot of those roles are. You should be designing for that level of crewing, but I don't think you need that level of crewing in peacetime. Yeah. I think that is something that you should design for it, but unless you're on a war footing, you shouldn't be using it.
Knight, the whole... Okay, I am just... Okay, I have to deal with this. Knight, the thing with the constellations is this is one of those cases where it's not the good idea fairy. Constellation was always going to go the way it did in terms of feature bloat. And anyone who didn't believe that was naive in the extreme. The USN bought off the shelf so it could tell Congress to shut up about it not buying off the shelf. It was always going to build the frigate it wanted, whatever the cost was going to be. The only reason they bought off the shelf was to get Congress to shut up about them buying off the shelf. It wasn't feature creep. It wasn't the good idea fairy. They bought the fucking design so that Congress would shut the fuck up and let them design the frigate they wanted to design.
I'd say there was a degree of feature creep with it, though. And that's purely because the time it was designed to come in around a sea change in technology. And it's like, it's sort of coming in where you're starting to see stuff like hypersonics entering the field and lasers entering the field with what BAE has shown, where it's okay, that's a laser that will take the place of a 5-inch gun on a ship. That's fucking cool.
Yeah, you do be cooking. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. It's like any standardization project that's happening in this time is going to fail. Because
Stuff
Yeah,
is evolving
the
too
advent-
quick to try and standardize.
yeah, the advent of lasers and railguns and hypersonics, frankly, it's almost starting to sound like it's going to be a dreadnought effect.
Oh, not that term again.
Because when everyone's running around with laser point defense and hypersonics, the Burks are going to fucking suffer. And the older missile ships are going to suffer.
Well, that's not going to be for a while yet. The Burks are going to be combat capable until the SM missile series stops being combat capable, and that's not going to be for ages yet.
And depending on how long it takes for the laser systems to come in.
They're already rolling them in.
Yeah, and it depends how actually effective they are.
That
Well,
we
Because one of the
never
things
know.
about
think
laser
with-
point
With
defense,
Dreadnought, the reason I don't think this is another Dreadnought is because we don't know exactly what direction things are going in yet. There are so many potential options on the table. We don't know what the next big thing is. Dreadnought was very much a case of that all the technological innovation had already happened. and it was just putting everything together into a single package.
The line of direction was
We
clear.
are probably, I would reckon, about 10, maybe probably closer to 15 years off from a Dreadnought type revolution. At least.
You see it happening in either this or the next generation
the
of
tech
ships.
needs to settle a little bit.
Yeah, everything does need to settle a little bit. Knights, the Constellation class wasn't a procurement disaster. Like, it's not.
There-
We literally just said why
this-
it wasn't.
Look, okay, from a getting ships perspective, it didn't go particularly well because they didn't get ships from it. They got 2 out of 20. From a figuring out what the Navy fucking needs, it was very fucking useful. Because the US Navy went,
Gener-
okay, we didn't need this, we don't need that. We need this, we need that, we don't need that. And
Generally speaking, the USN knows what it needs. It's just a question of can we get the politicians to finally stop riding our back and actually let us grab what we need.
It's the same
Yeah.
issue they've had, well, in the past, like, 150,
Century.
200 years.
yeah,
Because
but
Yeah.
this problem has been, basically, ever since the US decided we need a navy, Congress has
But-
went, well,
Do we?
do you need
Yeah.
this bit of it? Do you need
Yeah, but
that
it-
bit of it?
it's
The
like you saw
problem
in
is
the
the US government by design likes to deadlock itself.
yeah, but I'm more talking like when it's stuff like in the 60s, where the US Navy keeps getting generations of 70 to 80-year-old high-ranking officers that become fucking Luddites
The
and
curse
keep
of
getting attached outdated methods of warfare. All branches seem to get it.
yeah. Yeah,
And it-
the reformers. The reformers will never fucking die. There
and
will
it-
always be new generations of them.
And it's why I bring up the Americans' desperate need for the maximum crew capacity as being Luddite-ish. Because that was perfectly fine for the US Navy of the 70s and 80s, when they had a limitless pool of people willing to serve. In the modern day, where they've got a recruitment crisis, you need to start going, okay, how many people do we actually need to man this ship?
Other thing I would be looking at is if they are committed to having that level of crew in wartime, figure out, okay, which of these roles can be trained up in, 2 weeks or a month versus which of these roles need years to train for.
Yeah, or it's, especially with the rise of high technology and the fact you need a lot greater skill base to take part in
Yes.
modern naval combat than you did 50, 60 years ago.
But let's
The
let's
US
say, for instance, firefighters. That's not, or damage control people. That's something that you could have a small core, and then train your reservists on, so that in peacetime you don't have that level of manning, and then during wartime you call up your reservists who are already, fully trained on that, and they can do it. Or, maybe it takes a couple of weeks and you can train up a fully new low-level damage control person, whereas you keep all your permanent staff in your higher level roles, where you
Oh,
can
yeah.
surge that manning for those, if you like, lower skilled positions,
Like,
and,
then when it
and
comes-
use automation in those to help reduce that requirement in peacetime.
quite frankly, one of the big issues with that is that the US Navy is, well, the US military in a whole, well, no, the US government in a whole refusal to reform the education system. And so that
Don't
Luddite
get me
idea
started
that
on that. If you get me started on that, we'll be here for 3 hours.
yeah, and it's like the US Navy had a lot of institutional problems that aren't
I have
them
no issues with that.
them not having good equipment. Like, you're right, they have problems. You're just barking up the wrong fucking trees.
So, next question. How is the Pacific War different if the Thai Navy has a fully crewed, fully operational 7 12-inch gun battle cruisers from the start? Where would it be used? It will sit in Thailand as a harbour queen, doing very little. Until it gets bombed by the US Navy, or sunk by the US Navy, or torpedoed by the US Navy. Or the US or Royal Navy does something to it that results in it ending up on the bottom of the ocean. Or
It basically sounds like it's going to be trying to reprise Tirpitz's role.
Like, basically, it's not like the coast defense ships and other vessels of the Thai Navy during World War II, which were so insignificant the Allies didn't bother dealing with them. That is a ship that can actually cause issues if it actually comes out, so the effort will be made to render it incapable as the Allies sweep up through that part of the Pacific.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
The Japanese will most likely requisition the use of her.
Yeah,
Definitely
why are
get
the, I was about to say, why are the Allies blowing this up? They're, it's mostly not involved.
Okay, because there's two ways this happens. Either she doesn't do anything for the entire war, because the King of Thailand, or Siam as it's called at this point, will be hugging it desperately in Bangkok and beating away any Japanese officer that tries to take it from him with a gold-plated elephant crop. Which he had, by the way. It's beautiful.
Do they still have that?
Yeah. For a long time, it was a symbol of the Siamese monarchy. Because remember how important elephants are in Southeast Asia?
Mm-hmm.
Given that Siam's flag for a long time was a white elephant, which is part of the reason the saying comes from. Where was I? Basically, if Siam keeps control of it, the Allies probably don't bomb it because it's never left Bangkok. And Siam gets basically slapped on the wrist after World War II.
The Siamese were in the Second World War. Everyone forgets this. They were an active belligerent as part of the co-prosperity sphere.
But they never got invaded and occupied.
No, they didn't.
To be fair, it is questionable whether if they agreed to it or if they were coerced into it.
Yeah.
So the relatively lenient treatment of them is logical.
And it probably doesn't help that the British hadn't actually pushed through Burma to get into Thailand yet. If the war had gone on to unthinkable, the British were just going to steamroll Taiwan. So yeah.
Very likely.
But if the Japanese are able to seize it, and somehow, then it probably just gets sunk.
Yeah, it would just get sunk in one of the operations.
Yeah.
We also don't know the specs of the battlecruiser, right? If it's like a 30 knot plus battlecruiser, there's no way the Japanese isn't just coercing the Thais into.
Actually, we do. We actually do know its stats. Give or take between 26.5 to 28 knots, between 6 to 8 of 12-inch guns in this particular variety. They went with the 7-gun variety in 1 quad, 1 triple. A secondary battery of 6-inch, relatively thin armor belt. Like, it is actually an own design.
So, are we presuming they're taking the Vickers design?
They
didn't say they're doing that, but
can you name me another 7-gun, 12-inch battle cruiser for Thailand?
I just presume it's something he just spewed out.
I'm going off the historical one because, well, it's the one we've got, which we can really remark on. Unless you want to give us more stats. So,
but generally speaking, in my opinion, even a 28 knot battlecruiser may not be something that's. It's probably something Japan probably won't go after until it realizes, oh boy, we're gonna need ships. So they might try requisition in like 44 or 45, maybe.
She might join. Does the King of Siam just say no?
Yeah.
I mean, given that Siam is for most of the war a Japanese puppet state until they literally throw off the Japanese yoke as they're collapsing in 44-45, that
It's a
wouldn't be
lot more
surprising.
complicated than that. It's a lot more complicated.
I'm
than
aware, but I don't want to
It
spend
is.
another 2 hours going down into the exact relationship between the Siamese army, the Siamese government, the Siamese royal family, and the Imperial Japanese Army and Navy forces in country from the period 41 to 45. Because we'll be here all day.
Ramblings.
I have other things to do tonight.
The King of Siam regularly told the Japanese to go fuck themselves.
Okay. Simply, it's either sitting in Bangkok or get sunk. Done. Let's go. If you want to keep it that simple.
Or third option,
Oh,
because Siam did have to pay some reparations for invading and occupying French Indochina, it may be given to the French.
there's one
Alrighty
last
then.
very cursed option.
Yeah.
Japan scoops it up and converts into an aircraft carrier.
Oh yeah, that's always on the table, isn't it?
That's always on the table if Japan really needs aircraft carrier.
I mean, to be fair, there are things the Siamese would be happy to accept in exchange. They would probably be happy to accept a massive infusion of modern aircraft to completely re-equip the Imperial Thai Air Force in the aftermath of the Franco-Thai War.
To get that, you are prying it from the king's cold, dead hands.
That is the primary problem.
Yeah, because this isn't a ship of the Thai Navy. This is a ship of
His
Sorry.
Majesty's.
His Majesty. This isn't the Royal Navy. This is King Henry VIII's Royal Navy. His personal navy. Because remember, Mary Rose wasn't a Royal Navy ship. She was a royal ship.
Anyway,
Yeah,
next.
Or in Horizon 5.
Hmm.
Can I just say something quickly?
Of course.
Yeah, go for it.
Someone's pointed out that I sound strange today, and that's because for the past couple of days, I got hit by, at the same time, a chest infection, the flu, and coronavirus,
Yeah, that sounds about right.
while I'm asthmatic.
Also, with your thing being still
Sure
slightly set a
you
bit
should
too
be
high, but it's
talking
within
this
reason.
much?
Well, put it this way, she's no longer throwing up blood, so she's doing better than she was.
She's fine.
And sorry if I'm a bit strange. I was in A&E for like 9 to 12 hours on Wednesday
You
night.
sound perfectly fine.
Okay.
Oxo, given what I know of how well or not you take care of yourself, I am having serious questions about how you are still alive.
The human body is a wonder.
Look,
I
all
would
I'm going to
disagree
say
with that
is
statement,
the
considering
same
I've
mantra
heard
I
every
said in
kind of son,
hospital
but-
when I was giving blood for blood test. Iron within, iron without.
Oh boy.
How many people will actually
I
get
keep
that?
killing these Iron Warriors. I have yet to find the iron within.
It's in the blood, dumbass.
Anyway,
So, next.
Admiral Wellesley asks, how does one play Flyout? Well, I'm not the person to ask, I don't play Flyout, but I think, from what I've seen from a certain gentleman of my acquaintance who plays it on the fairly regular, you construct aircraft, and then you test those aircraft that you have constructed.
Make a tube, attach wings, put an engine in the back, you have a plane. Fly.
I thought you didn't play
So-
Fly Out. You play Fly Out in the same way you play fucking Spring Shop.
Or Kerbal Space Program.
Flyout
It's like-
isn't that detailed.
Like, Flyout just seems like, I am Spring Shop in a 3D graphics engine.
Isn't it?
I really wish someone would make
Kinda.
that.
Have you tried to make space?
Yeah, I mean,
in
someone should
KSP?
break
That
that.
shit's hard.
No, KSP is easy.
I have a KFT with the
It's-
safeties off.
KSP is just literally, is thing going fast enough? If not, apply more fuel tanks.
For the rockets, yeah. For the space planes, on the other hand, that
It's the same. It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
No, it is
It-
not.
You always take the American way out. More thrusts. That is how you build space plane. More thrusts. You don't need
Oh,
aerodynamics when you just
Insert that one
Now
quote from
big
Chicken
engine.
Run here.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Okay. Knight 6831 asks, for Dragon and Foxo, how realistic is it that the Azure Lane commander would, if the crossover characters became stuck with No Way Home, offer them residency at the port?
He does. Next.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I've had
that's
to go on a
right.
little bit of a deep dive here and enlist the help of my friendly neighborhood collective consciousness, also known as ChatGPT, to help me with this one, to try and figure out what the fuck I'm looking at.
Oh no, it's become cranker-brained.
No, basically
Oh,
because I just needed it to collate all the fucking information, so I didn't have to spend 25 minutes trawling through the internet. I could only spend 5 instead. What if the Republic of China's naval budget was quadrupled in 1932 without taking any money from elsewhere? So I've been looking into this, and there isn't really any information available publicly that specifically details what the naval budget was in that period. So what I did is I took the overall military budget and took a quarter of that to basically get a rough idea of what the Chinese might be spending on the military and the navy in that period. Then I times it by 4, which got me a quality in dollars, which was $121 million in 1932 dollars. I then asked, well, what dry docks have we got? So we've got dry docks that can hold ships. We've got a couple that can hold ships up to about 180 meters long and about a 8 meter draft and about 20 meters wide. We've got a couple of those docks. We've got another dock that can hold ships up to about 110 meters long and 60 meters wide, 5 meters draft. And then you've got a couple that can hold about small gunboats of about 60 meters. Basically, from what I was able to look at, the things we were looking at was basically you can get like a series of small cruisers with the money, a bunch of destroyers and submarines. You can basically decide that, you know what, we're going to have the largest submarine fleet in Asia and tell the Japanese to go fuck themselves. Which is fun. Or you could have a much smaller expansion program and instead invest in dockyards. But yeah, but just in case those who want to work off without my figures, the amount of money you've got to spend that I basically was able to get to was $121 million in 1932 dollars.
Right, Moe, forgive me if I'm wrong, but did Fleet suggest that Kuomintang, China, was spending 25% of its military budget on the Navy?
I mean, I'm more impressed with the fact that he thinks the full $121 million is going to end up in the Navy's pocket.
Hey, I'm just going off what the question asked. This is...
I would have started with like 5% of the military budget,
Probably.
because this is during they're actually fighting the communists in 32, aren't they?
Yes.
Yes.
So, okay, you probably got a couple of cents on the dollar, maybe.
To be fair, if the ROC's Navy budget got quadrupled without taking it from anywhere else, everywhere else is going to suddenly like, we need that money more than you do.
Yeah. But what I would also say is that this is also the period when we do see the Chinese start to put a little bit of money into the navy. That's why I kind of went for a quarter of the military budget. Because you do see this is the period when the Chinese do lay down their cruisers. Well, calling them cruisers is generous, but still.
Which was a mistake, honestly.
It was, but still, they laid down ships that aren't exactly what I'd call. They're not insignificant in terms of what they are. They actually do cost.
Yeah.
It's not just building a.
Microcruiser.
They are micro cruisers. I'm not going to lie, but for a nation like China to build a pair of them, it's
Weren't they ordered off the Japanese though?
no. One of them was built in. One was built in Japan, and one was built in China.
Okay.
Specifically
To
at
be fair.
the dockyard I mentioned previously. Specifically the dockyard in Xinjiang, the largest.
To be fair, in my
Dockyard.
opinion, waste of money.
Oh no, completely. I agree. I think they
That
would have
that money really should have been spent on improving naval academies and infrastructure.
And if you must order
Build up your bases first before build up a ship.
yeah, and if you must order ships, then for God's sake, order a submarine tender and a flotilla of modern submarines. They'll be infinitely more useful to you in a warfighting perspective when you're dealing with the Japanese.
Not really.
Yeah, fuck no.
Not really.
Fuck no. That's not even the issue. Fuck no.
Because the Japanese may be inexperienced in AFW. The Japanese are inexperienced in operating AFW, yes. But the Chinese are incredibly inexperienced at operating a submarine campaign.
Oh, they are.
And actually,
Uh,
no, not just that.
They are, but I would also point out there is the elephant in the room here, which is the fact that who is the nationalist government's main partner in military procurement and training at this point?
In 32,
Yep.
the British.
Nope.
Because it should be 36 when the German mission is sent, or 35.
Yeah,
I thought it was earlier than that.
nope.
Nope. Yeah, the Weimar observers in 32, but the actual German mission was done by the Nazi Party after they come to power.
And also, we are also talking about German submarine programs in 1932.
Oh no. The well, the thing is that would be a great way for the Germans to do the whole. This is true. That is true, Moe. But this is the period where the Germans are doing their whole get around Versailles by building submarines for other people in other nations.
Yes, the China's the last place to want to bring in on this.
And generally speaking, despite people keep hammering on Japanese ASW in World War II, in the 30s, they actually have a fairly decent one. They just don't ever improve upon it because they never thought they needed to.
Now, I'm not going to say
Yeah.
that I trust an AI completely, because I don't, fucking clanker. But I do think, I think out of the three, I'll copy and paste the three suggestions that it gave me, so that people can see what it gave me.
Okay.
And out of those three, I'm probably leaning towards package C. So you get the infrastructure, and it's not just new dry docks, but you get the you probably get. I'd add to that infrastructure upgrades in terms of coastal infrastructure, naval academies, training, and also packages to help root out corruption. Probably take 10 of the destroyers off to help pay for that. So for me personally, that would be what I would go with: four light cruisers, 10 destroyers, 20 actually no, probably 12 subs plus a submarine tender. And then the rest of the money going into naval academies, manufacturing for spares, and rooting out corruption. Probably, heck, found a fucking naval police academy, for God's sake.
I would put one thing above all of those things. Form a riverine fleet and have gunboats for the Pearl and Yellow Rivers.
Well, that's something we could easily do, actually.
Yeah, because so much of China's economic potential at this point is lost because the region's still in, especially the Pearl River, is infested by piracy. The British come in, shoot them up, and come to a deal of you don't attack our stuff and you don't attack the French stuff. But that doesn't mean piracy doesn't continue.
No.
And it's something that plagues into the 50s. And
So,
just China getting
honestly-
control of its own damn rivers is more important
Honestly-
than contesting the China seas.
So we could actually. So in that case, then I would trade it up. So fast forces are good for us because they're mobile. So I'd honestly get rid of the cruisers. In fact, actually, I'd switch it up. I'd go the
I'd get rid of
in that
submarines.
case, then I'd go for package A because we're not looking to increase our size of our dockyards. I'd get rid of the cruisers from package A. Get the minesweepers, the tenders, the submarines, and the 16 modern destroyers, and then I'd also, but then instead of the cruisers, I'd get a force of about 20 to 30 decent river gunboats.
I get rid of submarines.
I would scrap the idea of trying to contest the China seas. Because you can't against the IJN.
Well, no, I'm not trying to contest the
And
China
I
seas.
would focus on the riverine fleet.
Yeah.
And coastal defenses. Actually give regions like Shanghai, Guangdong, coastal defenses. So the Japanese can't just rock up and say, we're in charge here.
That they did have coastal defenses. They were useless in
They
the
are-
face of the Japanese.
They are likely to still be useless.
Yeah, building
Yeah,
coastal
but
defenses.
You need to invest a lot in anti-air defense, honestly.
Coastal defense, anti-air coastal defenses. Just something
They're fundamentally useless,
like...
Foxo.
Yeah, but those
Spend the money, train up your
Marines,
air
those
force.
Like,
Spend the money, train up your air force, and buy actual aircraft instead of I-15s.
Each one forces the Japanese to commit more resources.
Not really. The coastal defense, even if you'd have to build something much more powerful than the Atlantic Wall to really force the Japanese to commit more than they did historically to the invasions of Shanghai and other coastal
you would.
cities. You would.
but, okay, so not really. You could fortify with 8-inch guns that will make it. Oh, the IJN has to bring a battleship to bear. You can do that.
But they did bring
If
battleships to
we're
bear.
investing in gunboats, why not build some torpedo boats? At the same
The
time?
Japanese rocked up with a carrier fleet with Congos as escorts.
Yeah.
The problem is denying that, which means your primary focus should really be upgrading it, reinforcing your air force. So you're
And-
not flying 15s I-16s against.
And if
Well, let's compare 85
Let's-
heads.
let's-
Stuff right. So can we just get this right? The fundamental issue with this that we're trying to solve, right? Can we all agree, is the fact that we're fighting the Japanese Navy in 1936,
37.
It's never going to happen.
36, 37, before the Americans and the British are in the war. So we have
Yes.
the entire attention of the IJN.
Yeah.
With pennies on the dollar, there ain't shit we can do against that.
I disagree. I think you're massively underselling
And
what a
following
smaller
um,
navy can do against a larger one, if correctly supplied.
the issue is
That's the
sheer
problem.
fucking size of the Chinese coast.
And that,
China's fucking huge.
I would argue that's a benefit to us rather than a detriment. Lots of places to hide.
Not really.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking, reinforce air
so
defenses.
can
and
I-
then
can I
as
get a
far as
word in
anti-shipping
edgeways?
goes-
Um,
Sure.
So, if we are the navy, I would actually invest in. I'd invest in a naval air arm, in particular, focused on single and twin engine torpedo bombers, and fighters to escort them. That's the way you push the Japanese away from the coast. That's a force that can be mobile. It can move anywhere it's needed, and it is a realistic threat to even the largest IJN asset. Is it
Not
is it still
really.
Is it still vulnerable to Imperial Japanese Army and Navy air power? Yeah, absolutely. Do you still need surface assets to work with it? Yes, you do. That's why I say you should still have at least 2 flotillas, about 8 to 12 modern destroyers, and perhaps 10 tenders for them. You should also probably invest in the up-and-coming new tech, which is the motor torpedo boat, because in the littorals around China, that would be very annoying for amphibious landings. Like, especially in Shanghai, they think they've swept everything aside, and then suddenly a force of MBTs appear, and that's oh dear, what's that? That's a. I mean,
The Japanese have brought 36 modern destroyers. You've just fed a pack of motor torpedo boats to a Pabuki. Well done.
Yeah, but I killed a landing ship on so doing it. Success.
Not a success. You've now just annoyed them.
Yeah, because the issue is that you're still going to have the issue of early on you can't stop the Japanese army, so you're going to lose most of the northern coastline anyway. My counterpoint would be, okay, most Japanese supply was done on the 3 major rivers. The Yellow, the Yangtze, and the Pearl, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
So my focus would be on motorboats, aircraft, and especially try and get night flying down. Try and do whatever you can to get it off the British. And riverine craft in the same way the Soviets had the riverine fleet.
I think I agree with you there completely.
And when the retreat into the interior happens, because that's not an if, that's a when, we can take the fire building blocks of the Navy and pull them upriver. And they can just be a pain in the ass for the overstretched IJN. Landing troops behind them, attacking and being pains in the ass, breaking up supply lines, and creating yet another front for the Japanese to fight on.
I would also expand that to include part of, the force I'm trying to build. I think that if can I don't
go for it.
Down my. If I am gonna have destroyers, then they should be of a size that if they need to, they can retire upriver. They may not be useful upriver, but they can at least retire upriver if required. If I am going to have tenders, the same should also be true. They should be able to retire upriver to serve as bases and locus points for resistance against the Japanese along those rivers. They're not going to be very useful in terms of mobility, but they can at least be useful in terms of providing bases of operation and stores and stores of spares for those forces, and in particular the destroyers as well. The destroyers, while they may not be useful in terms of being mobile assets, they're going to provide. They can lend their guns to new build makeshift craft. They can up-arm some of the other gunboats. They can up-arm some of Foxo's motorboats, etc., etc. These
destroyers?
Because
if the whole part of the plan is, oh well, we just make them not destroyers anymore.
Because
you can just invest the money elsewhere.
Because that's not how procurement
fundamental
works,
level.
Dragon. I'm not just building this fleet to fight Japan. I'm building this fleet as a fleet that can also deter other assets as well. We all know the fucking IJN's coming.
That you're not.
You're building it in 32. You're in the middle of the Sino-Japanese wars in the warlord period. Your enemies and who are trying to deter are other warlords and the IJN and IJA.
Yes.
The British aren't any of your concern. The French aren't, the Germans aren't, the Americans aren't your concern. Because there ain't shit you can do against them. And the Chinese government knew that. They hated it, but they knew it.
Then why the hell did they build a pair of small cruisers then, eh? What's your answer to that one then, smart guy?
Oh, but the point being that they made the wrong decision. We've established that.
Yeah, but my point is that I'm building a force that's rapid, mobile, and can be used in lightning actions at sea until such a point that it has to retire upstream. And it also preserves a core of ocean-going ships that, even while disarmed, once the war is over, you can then use to reconstitute an ocean-going fleet relatively rapidly.
So the issue with the
Your problem
destroyers
is just
thing is,
going to be retreating stuff upstream.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
going to be the rub. It's getting is
you've got to get a destroyer through the canals, and
That's not happening, or at
that's
least
not happening.
not happening with any
So-
sort of
This is why I
modern
said, why are
scale.
you building destroyers? Like, if you're building it so they can do this, you've not built a destroyer.
Or maybe you've built an early flush decker,
Yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking.
No.
I'm not.
which at that point, build an MTTB. But the thing is, anything like a destroyer is going to be enough of a target if you're trying to operate Riverine that it's actually going to get major forces as a response. So it tries to do anything, the IJA will actually respond and try and bomb it or shoot at it with their artillery. The MTTBs are small enough forces that if a couple of destroyers are fucking about on a major river at the start of the war or before the retreat inland, the IJN's just going, oh, more assets to bomb. Also, IJN's going to go, oh, more assets to bomb them, and they go down. The IJN didn't go over its way to bomb every single patrol boat and torpedo boat. And that's how the fleet survives.
I fundamentally think you're underestimating the soft power potential in the run-up to the conflict that a force like this could give to China.
I think you're overestimating it.
So I have spent the past 15 minutes looking at maps.
Jesus.
I've just been going up and down China's coastline. There are a ton, I do mean a ton, of tiny little canals and rivers where you can just hide motor torpedo boats. So my thinking would be invest in motor torpedo boat production and invest in air defense. And just flood China's coastline with as many points as you can put them. Just put 3 or 4 motor torpedo boats in as many canals as you can find.
Yeah, sort of
Hence
the
the reason
fucking
why we were
North
talking about
Vietnamese.
hence the reason why we're talking about a riverine force, a riverine fleet.
Well, at that point,
Yep.
we're more talking about a littoral fleet as well.
Yeah, it would
Basically,
be littoral
yes.
in that it's hiding along the coastline. So your Fubuki rocks up. At some point, it's going to pass one of these rivers. As soon as it does, surprise, 4 MTBs at point blank range.
So here's one of the main
And
thing
they've got
about the Chinese
torpedoes
coast
before
is
you
that
can do anything about it.
so one of the big thing about the Chinese coast is that yes, it's long, it's big. However, a good portion of it is not relevant. There's practically nothing there other than a bunch of fishing villages. So China could absolutely concentrate most of its motorboat forces on key locations, key ports that they damn well know the Japanese are going to land there, because anywhere else is stupid, it's irrelevant. They're just wasting forces, and the army could be sent to deal with that once they landed. So it's very unlikely that you need to spread out your forces to that
Oh,
extent in
God.
terms of putting
Can
just
we-
a whole
can
bunch
we-
of
can we-
torpedo boats everywhere.
I am running slightly over time. I had hoped we'd be done half an hour ago now. We're half an hour into my me time. So can we kind of hurry this up?
Okay, because if we go for a riverine force, and hear me out, China has this massive internal waterway network called the Grand Canal and the Grand Canal system.
Mhm.
It's too small at this point for any destroyers to use, but it is big enough that you could reasonably move light forces around on it.
How big could we build these motor torpedo boats? Could we get things like E-boats and Vospers? Or would that be a bit big?
Probably.
We're talking for a lot of it, it's much rather a draft issue than it is a width issue.
Also, we could get things
Yeah.
like Elco PT boats, E-boats, British MTBs
Absolutely.
and MGBs. Nice. That sounds good to me.
Absolutely.
And we can
And
we
if
can
you're
build
transferring
AA.
them around.
Yeah, you can build
Transferring
AA
them.
barges.
And sort of focus your naval power, because a large fleet on the Grand Canals, as proven throughout Chinese history, is a pain in the ass for land-based armies.
And also, if we can, and also politely, if we can, given the amount of money we've got, as long as we can source engines and weapons, our ability to build these is triple digit, maybe even quadruple digit, like hundreds or thousands of these things.
Yeah, remember, the
And more
British make
importantly-
the
That's
MTBs
why
out
I'm
of
saying
wood.
you can just flood the coastline. I
There's
mean,
not- no,
concentrate around the cities, but you'll have enough to put them elsewhere too.
Like we
Yeah,
can,
but you
More
don't want to
importantly,
put them on the coast, though, that's the thing. Because on the coast, with naval power, you can effectively route them out from important areas. If they're on the internal canal network, they're 80 to 100 miles inland. You can't get destroyers in there. You can't get ocean and
Most of-
coastal naval assets up there.
Most
So
of
the
the ports is
Japanese
connected.
have to build equivalents.
Most of the ports is connected to the canal system anyway. If a threat comes and they can't deal with it, they can just run.
yeah,
So you could absolutely station them in important ports and stuff like that. But the most important thing about these River Rhine stuff is that there is going to be an immediate effect upon the warlord.
you might actually be able to, make integration efforts viable because of I control the Grand Canals now. The national government
You could-
controls the internal waterways now. We own
You could take a page out of Britain. Gunboat diplomacy.
Yeah, literally.
I will put a 500-ton gunboat off of your river or into your
that,
river.
That would be the flagship asset. Gunboats with 6-inch guns. That would be the flag assets. Basically just, I don't fucking give a damn what you've got in terms of artillery. I have an armored gunboat with 6-inch guns. Fight me.
Not a, you'll have quite a few more than just.
No, I was
a,
more
but
talking.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Anyway,
I'm sorry, but please appreciate this. Whenever you said that, I know the Grand Canals are much bigger, but I'm just imagining one of those little Yorkshire canal boats with 6-inch guns.
actually mounted 6-inch gun fires. The whole boat absorbs the recoil. Oh, that's great. That's great. Anyway, okay. So, Night is the one for Dragon as the Azure Lane Christmas 2025 UR event live stream will be on December 15th, 2025. Which faction do you want to see get the last 1 or 2 URs of 2025? Words.
I'd be surprised if it isn't Japan. They've been hyping up all this year that Yamato's coming this year. So I'd be surprised if it's not them.
There you are then. Nice and simple. And finally, nice little fun question that shouldn't take too long to answer because I do want to go and do some more testing. I do want to go and do some more testing, goddammit. I have to narrow down which nation I want to play. And I still haven't figured it out. I've tried Portugal, Russia, the Netherlands.
The answer is Liberia. They've got secret content now.
No, I don't
Or
want to
play the
Liberia.
Philippines.
No, I don't want to play the Philippines.
They have a player-only
Philippines,
event
right.
show where they can get cannibals in charge.
Anyway, so last question. How would a drone conversion today of the B-36, the most beautiful strategic bomber ever built, go? Well, assuming... Okay, so before we get into the weeds too much, let's assume the following. We're building a B-36 in the modern era. We're building it with modern components and electronics. We're going to replace the, oh my god, the engine's on fire moment engines with, actual turboprops that don't catch fire every 5 seconds.
And that's what B-36. You've gotten rid of the defining feature of the B-36 that it randomly catches fire.
Okay.
Because let's be real, you only turn a B-36 into a drone if ChatGPT has got a life debt against you.
Yeah.
And you want to make it suffer so
Yeah.
you forced it to fly a B-36 for the rest of
Yeah.
time.
Tibu, I'm not playing Sweden. Doesn't really give many options for expansion. And also, since you all know I like my naval game, I'm trapped in the Baltic. No, thank you. I do not want to be trapped in the Baltic.
Apparently, France.
I have been tempted. I am going to try a France playthrough in a minute. But anyway, so your poll is overwhelmingly France. Yes, but that's not for the Hoi game. That is for the next Rule the Waves game. Once the Imperial China playthrough is wrapped up, which is ironic because we were just talking about China.
Fleet, I have a brilliant idea.
Can we finish this question?
Yes.
So, if you're going to build a B-36 to carry drones, depends. Are we carrying FPVs? In which case, I would say you drop them at the bomb bay and then return to get more. Basically, you use the B-36 as a...
Right, and I thought the question was, what if you made the B-36 a drone?
That's what I was interpreting.
Oh, yeah, I thought drone conversion was like, is it going to carry... if you're building the B-36 as a drone, I mean, it's possible. It's viable. It's got enough fucking room in there. For fuck's sake, the thing could carry a nuclear reactor that didn't fucking do anything. It can carry all the kit to become a drone.
I mean, the only reason you're converted to be a drone is to spare heritage crews from having to fly the thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
unfortunately...
they were death traps.
Yes, and I mean, there's a reason why there are preserved B-36s, but no one is insane enough to try and repair one to fly again.
Come on, let's admit it. A drone conversion of V-36? That's just an arsenal word.
Yes, it is. That's literally what it is. Oh, that's beautiful. You love.
Well, why
just
am I
one.
imagining a B-36 but it's Bombay full of shaheads? I've got like shaheads like
That is
gales
exactly
under
what I
the
was
wind.
thinking.
Yeah, so the B-36 is the one-way attack drone. It's carrying one-way attack drones. The bombs are one-way attack drones. The engines can fall off and become one-way attack drones.
If need be, you could pack the bay full of explosives and turn it into a one-way
That's what I
attack
said.
drone.
No, that's what I said.
Yeah.
Every part of the bomber is a one-way attack drone.
No. But the CIA would love it because it's such an unreliable airframe that it's got plausible deniability. It was flying in the area, yes, but it's a B-36. They just randomly burst into flames for no reason.
Hey, at least this time it wasn't carrying a nuclear bomb.
Speaking of the I could
Like, you
see
need
a
lots of
use
nuclear
case for
bomb.
this so it can carry nukes again. Because one of the concerns is, you're too close. That's not a problem anymore because there's nobody on board.
Hey, forever loitering.
Look at me. I am the cruise missile now.
Forever loitering nuclear strike. Just aerial refuel it.
Oh my god.
No. It's because it doesn't need a crew. Put the reactor in. We've got a bomb and a reactor in. It doesn't need.
Yeah, but
Right.
you need to refuel a reactor still.
Eventually.
Every, 20 years.
But the plane won't keep
If you-
flying for 20 years. So you'd have to refuel it.
Anyway, right, so, gentlemen, we have discovered that the best solution for this is a nuclear-powered, drone-operated B-36, which is carrying one-way attack drones and is itself a one-way attack drone. Congratulations, you've created an abomination. And with that, Catch-Up Ramblings is concluded! So, thank you everyone for turning up. For those on YouTube, take care, and I'll catch you all on Monday as normal. Keep your eyes peeled for a schedule, because obviously that'll be very interesting, and also, depending on what's going on, there will be the game immediately after that, depending on who gets back to me on when their availability is. So, but keep your eyes peeled, there will be more announcements over the weekend as I finally nail the coffin on the head of the people to make sure that everything goes as it should.